Well, news tonight, a woman was stabbed more than 20 times in her apartment, and now a Milwaukee man is charged.
Investigators say that man then sent a text to the woman's child. Our Durante Matthews in the newsroom with what prosecutors say happened next.
Let me tell you something. The audacity. A man stabs a woman 22 times, sends a text admitting it, and his reason? She was disrespectful, not his girlfriend. Not his wife, just a woman he lived with who he sometimes slept with. And when she got a call from another man and tried to leave, Dukic decided if he couldn't control Amanda Varisco, nobody could. Milwaukee, Thursday night, a family shattered, and a story that'll make your blood boil. When the clock strikes midnight, the truth comes out. I'm 12 a.m. crime, and every single day I bring you real cases of domestic violence that turn deadly. The stories the system tried to bury, the victims who deserve justice. If you're about that raw, unfiltered truth, hit subscribe. New case drops every day at midnight. Don't sleep on justice. This is 12 a.m. crime. Amanda Varisco was 44 years old, mother of 4, grandmother of 5. The kind of woman who'd built a whole family, who had people depending on her, who had grandkids that needed her around, and she was living in an apartment near 36th and National Avenue in Milwaukee with a man named Dukic. Now, let's be clear about what this was. They weren't a couple. They weren't building anything together. Dukic himself would later admit to police that they were only occasionally sexual. Like, they lived together, and sometimes things happened. But there was no relationship, no commitment, no titles, just two people sharing space. But here's where it gets messy. Dukic was 39 years old, and he wasn't exactly living clean. Court records show this man had open cases, plural. He was out on bond for felonies, including stalking. So we already know he had issues with boundaries, with letting people live their lives, with accepting when somebody didn't want him around. And despite all that, despite having cases hanging over his head, despite being ordered not to commit new crimes while he was out on bond, he was free, walking around, living with Amanda. Make it make sense. The system had already flagged this man, already said, hey, you're dangerous, you're on a leash, don't mess up. But somehow he had access to a woman's home, to her space, to her life. And Amanda, whether she knew the full extent of what she was dealing with or not, she was stuck in a situation with a man who'd already proven he couldn't handle rejection. Thursday night rolls around, February, cold Milwaukee evening. Nothing about this night started off unusual. People were living their lives, going about their business. Amanda was in the apartment. So was Dukic. And that's when everything went left. Amanda's phone rings. A man on the other end. We don't know who he was, don't know what they talked about, don't know if it was innocent or romantic or just a friend checking in. Doesn't even matter. What matters is Dukic saw her on that phone, heard her talking to another man, and something in him snapped. Now let's pause right here. They weren't together. He admitted that himself. Occasionally sexual doesn't mean you own somebody. Doesn't mean you get to monitor their phone. Doesn't mean you get to decide who they talk to. But Dukic wasn't thinking logically. He was thinking like a man who felt entitled to control a woman who wasn't even his. After that phone call, Amanda wanted to leave. Simple as that. She wanted out of that apartment. Maybe she felt the tension rising. Maybe she knew Dukic well enough to sense when things were about to get ugly. Maybe she just wanted space. Whatever the reason, she tried to go. And that's when he blocked her path. An argument started, voices raised. Dukic would later tell police they got into it after she got that call. But here's the thing about arguments. They're supposed to be words. Heated words, sure. Maybe some door slamming. Maybe some space needed to cool off. That's what normal people do. They argue, they separate, they breathe. Mild Dukic wasn't interested in breathing. He hit her. With his fists. Multiple times. Amanda, a woman just trying to leave her own apartment, getting punched by a man who had no claim to her, but felt like he did. She's getting hit for answering a phone, getting hit for wanting to walk out the door, getting hit for existing in a way that didn't center him. But hey, it didn't stop there. Oh, so now hitting her wasn't enough. The punches weren't enough to satisfy whatever rage was burning inside him. Dukic wanted to make sure Amanda never disrespected him again, never talked to another man again, never tried to leave again. He grabbed a knife. 22 times. He stabbed her 22 times. Chest, abdomen, over and over. And Amanda fought back. She had defensive wounds on her hands and arms, which means she tried to protect herself, tried to stop the blade. She fought for her life in that apartment. Amanda knew she was dying. She could feel every single wound. And she still fought, still tried to block the blade with her bare hands. But Mild Dukic kept going, kept stabbing, until Amanda Varisco stopped moving, until she stopped breathing. And then, like nothing even happened, this man pulls out his phone. Around 11 o'clock that Thursday night, one of Amanda's children gets a text message. Not a phone call, a text. From Dukic. 3 messages that would change their life forever. I killed your mom. She was disrespectful and mean. I think she is dead. I said what I said. This man really sent that, typed it out, hit send, and just admitted to murder through a text message. And notice how he said it, not something terrible happened, or there was an accident. No, I killed your mum. Direct, cold, like he was reporting the weather, and then had the nerve to add why he did it. She was disrespectful and mean. That was his justification. That was supposed to explain 22 stab wounds. Another version of that text said Amanda talked to dude. That phone call, that's what this was really about. She answered a call from another man, and in Dukic's mind, that was disrespect punishable by death. The daughter immediately called police, asked them to do a wellness check on her mother. Can you imagine that call? Trying to explain you just got a text saying your mom was murdered, praying maybe he's lying, maybe this is some sick joke. It wasn't a joke. Milwaukee police rushed to that apartment near 36th and National Avenue. When they arrived, they walked inside. And there on the floor, unresponsive, was Amanda Varisco. Blood everywhere. Evidence of a violent struggle. First responders tried to save her, but with 22 stab wounds, with that much blood loss, there was nothing they could do. Amanda was pronounced dead at the scene. The medical examiner confirmed what police already suspected. 22 stab wounds to the chest and abdomen. Defensive wounds on her hands and arms. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was sustained, deliberate. Moving on. Police find Dukic still in the area. Before they even get him in handcuffs, he says, I didn't want to do it. So what? You didn't want to do it, but you did it anyway. Make it make sense. Officers arrested him right there. Read him his rights. Took him down to the station. And when detectives sat down to interview Mild Dukic, he didn't lawyer up. He talked, confessed to the whole thing. He told investigators that he and Amanda were seeing each other sometimes, but they weren't serious. Then he explained that night. Said Amanda got a phone call from a man. Said she wanted to leave. Said they got into an argument. Said he hit her multiple times. And then he admitted it. He stabbed her, but he tried to flip it. Tried to make it sound like Amanda did something wrong. He kept bringing up that she was disrespectful, that she was mean. Like any of that justifies murder. Detectives documented everything. The confession, the text messages, the medical examiner's report. They had a case so airtight, there was no wiggle room. And then they pulled his record. Dukic had open cases. He was out on bond for felonies, including stalking. He'd been ordered by a judge not to commit any new crimes while he was out. He was living with a woman he'd eventually murder while the court system thought he was being monitored. The system knew he was dangerous, knew he had stalking charges, and yet he had full access to Amanda's life. And when she tried to exercise her basic right to leave, to talk to whoever she wanted, he took that life away. Anyways, prosecutors charged Dukic with first-degree intentional homicide, premeditated murder, life in prison if convicted.
A man accused of killing a woman he lived with told investigators he stabbed her after she got a call from another man and wanted to leave. That's according to a criminal complaint charging Dukic with first-degree intentional homicide. He's accused of stabbing Amanda Varisco 22 times near 36th and National Thursday. The complaint says the suspect sent a text message to the victim's daughter saying, "I killed your mom. She was disrespectful and mean." Court records show Dukic was convicted of homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle in a deadly crash in 2008.
Dukic had his first court appearance the next day. Stood before a judge, facing first-degree intentional homicide charges. The evidence was overwhelming. He was held without bond. But let's talk about who really matters here. Amanda Varisco, 44 years old, gone. Her 4 children are now living without their mother. Her 5 grandchildren won't have their grandmother at birthdays, at graduations, at family dinners. They won't hear her voice, won't get her advice, won't feel her hugs. All because a man who wasn't even her partner decided she was being disrespectful. The family started a GoFundMe to help with funeral expenses. Because on top of losing Amanda, they now have to figure out how to pay to bury her, how to plan a service, how to grieve while the world keeps moving. When domestic violence takes someone, it doesn't just take that person. It destroys families. It leaves children without parents. This is what control looks like. This is what happens when a man thinks he owns a woman's time, her attention, her choices. Amanda wasn't Dukic's girlfriend. But in his mind, that didn't matter. He felt entitled to dictate who she talked to, where she could go. And when she asserted her basic human right to walk out of an apartment, he made sure she'd never walk anywhere again. Like, we need to be real about this. This isn't about disrespect. This was about power, about a man who couldn't handle a woman making her own decisions, about jealousy so deep that it turned into murder. And here's what really gets me. Amanda tried to leave. She was doing exactly what we tell domestic violence victims to do. Leave. Walk away. But Dukic didn't let her. He blocked that door. So when we talk about why women don't just leave, this is why. Because sometimes leaving is the most dangerous thing you can do. Sometimes the moment you try to walk away is the moment everything escalates. Amanda fought. Those defensive wounds prove it. She didn't just accept death. She fought for her life, for her kids, for her grandkids. But 22 stab wounds is hard to survive. 22 times he could have stopped and didn't. Her name was Amanda Varisco. Mother, grandmother. A woman who deserved to grow old, who deserved to answer a phone call without being murdered for it. Milwaukee lost her that Thursday night. If you're in a situation where someone monitors your phone, controls who you talk to, gets violent when you try to leave, please hear this. That's not love. That's not even close to love. That's control. That's abuse. That's danger. And resources are out there. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-7-997-233. They can help you make a safety plan. They can connect you with local resources. They can help you leave safely, because Amanda deserved to leave safely. She deserved to live, and her story, as painful as it is, needs to be told. Not just for her, but for every woman who's been called disrespectful for asserting boundaries, for every person trapped with someone who thinks love means ownership, for every family who's lost someone to domestic violence. Rest in peace, Amanda Varisco. Your family is fighting to keep your memory alive, and we're saying your name so that you're not forgotten, so that your death means something, so that maybe, just maybe, someone watching this recognizes the warning signs in their own life and gets out before it's too late. This has been 12 AM Crime.